Okay, welcome to the Microsoft Military Affairs Microsoft Software and Systems Academy program brief for July 2024. Thank you for joining us today. So here's our agenda for today's brief. We're going to give you a program overview of MSSA, the program structure, speak to our technical learning paths, what is the eligibility for the program, our admissions process. We'll speak to our offering in Europe, and then provide some further resources as well. So here's the MSSA program overview. So the objective of the program is to prepare participants for employment in the tech industry and provide employment support. And we do that through the IT learning and then job search strategies and support. So the IT training, it's delivered by a Microsoft Learning partner. So it's live delivery. You'll be on a Teams meeting with your instructor and the rest of your cohort class. And as I said, it's delivered live daily by the instructor. And the job search strategy and support is delivered by your Microsoft Career Development Manager, who's with you throughout the whole 17 weeks of the program and is your main point of contact into Microsoft. So we are offering in our training the latest in Microsoft technology. You'll be working with your fellow cohort members on projects and labs as well. We also have mentors who are Microsoft employees. Most of them are veterans, and many of them also have completed MSSA. And then you'll have the opportunity to achieve industry certifications, Microsoft certifications related to your learning path. And we'll talk to that here in the brief as well. And then on the job search strategies and support, we support you in building great interview skills, a good resume, and utilizing LinkedIn and building a good profile, as well as using it for networking in your job search. So MSSA, it's an authorized DoD program. It's 17 weeks, and 16 of that 17 weeks is the technical instruction. And during those technical instruction weeks, the training takes place Monday through Thursday, and then each Friday is a professional development day. We're currently at 15 participants per cohort, and this is fully funded and supported by Microsoft, so there's no cost to the participants. And the technical training delivered by the Microsoft Learning Partner, the live delivery, there's 3 learning paths, and you select one learning path for yourself, and you're doing that learning path for the whole 17 weeks. The 3 are server and cloud administration, cloud application development, and cybersecurity operations. The cybersecurity operations path does require experience, and we'll speak to that in a future slide as well. And then the employment piece, I mean, the goal of the program is to get you employed. And part of that support is our mentors, our Microsoft employees who mentor your cohort and yourself throughout the program. We have hiring partners. These are Microsoft partner companies that are ready to interview and hire folks who are completing MSSA. There's no hiring fees to those partner companies. And then you have job search assistance from your career development manager. As I mentioned earlier, that's the person who's with you throughout the full 17 weeks. And then we have a team within military affairs that all they do is work with external companies and finding employment opportunities. And then we also have Microsoft recruiters as well, looking for opportunities at Microsoft. So this is latest numbers. This is up to date to this week. So we've had 3,795 MSSA graduates. We've been doing this over 10 years now. We currently have 81 in class, and that breaks out into 70 here in the United States, and then 11 internationally. And our graduation rate is 95%, employment rate 97%. And of that 97, 91% is employed in IT. And we've had over 1,000 companies have hired from MSSA so far. So these are just a list of different roles that individuals end up in when they finish MSSA and find employment. I mean, this is not obviously an extensive full list, but it gives you an idea of the different types. You have a kind of a mix of customer-facing roles from the customer success account managers, cloud solutions architects who work with customers, and then you have internal or more internal facing opportunities such as just software developers, site reliability engineers that work on our data centers and then keep our servers up to date and operational. So just a quick list here that you can look at, but many other roles that individuals have landed in as well. And here's a program structure. Kind of, as I said, it's full-time, 17 weeks, so this isn't a part-time program. You wouldn't be able to do this and then be, employed or doing some other type of program. It's really full-time and takes up most of your time as you have to study as well. Our next cycle of start dates that you're eligible to apply for is for January 2025. We'll go into the dates and kind of the important dates for applying for that next start cycle in an upcoming slide. But the admissions process, so you submit an application, we have an application window, and you have required documentation. It differs between those that are active duty and those that are veterans. So the active duty side has to get command approval and all the other requirements that the military has you do, and then you have to satisfy the program prerequisites, which includes some certificates as well. You'll have an orientation with your cohort instructors prior to the first day, and just making sure everything's good to go on your side and able to connect, and all the administrative tasks are taken care of. This sort of breaks out an active cohort into how many hours you receive. So as I said, we are at 15 participants per cohort at this time. There's 448 hours of technical instruction, and then professional development is 147 hours, and then flex time 64 hours, and that's time set aside for focus with instructors, your CDM, your career development manager, lab time, administrative time. So that's kind of how the technical and professional development side is broken out, and kind of gives you sort of the day-to-day for what a week looks like. So when you're in the 16 weeks of the technical instruction, as I mentioned earlier, the technical instruction takes place Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You have that flex time at the end of the day, that last hour, and of course breaks and lunch. And then every Friday is a professional development day. And then on week 9, it's fully dedicated to professional development. You have a break from your technical instructions, and you spend that week, and it's delivered by your career development manager, your CDM. And you have just, there different things take place. The mentors are involved, guest speakers. You're working on your resume, preparing for interviews and the employment piece of the program. Companies come in and talk about their roles and how to apply for their opportunities. So a lot of great content takes place during that professional development week. So these are the 3 technical learning paths and applied skills for each one. This gives you just a little more depth into what you're covering and learning throughout the 17 weeks in each different learning path. So the server and cloud administration, which is really network admin. The main topics are kind of PowerShell, networking, identity and Active Directory, and then Azure fundamentals and endpoint management. Azure is the Microsoft cloud platform, and Azure administration as well. And on the right side there, you see the certification opportunity. So it's not a requirement to achieve and complete a certification, but that opportunity does exist, and we give you the resources to do so. And there are many folks who do complete at least the fundamental certificate, the one there in the left, the Azure fundamentals, which is a kind of the basic cloud fundamentals certificate for Microsoft. And then the more advanced one is the administrator course, or for server and cloud admin. So cloud application development, that's software development. So it's more focused on coding and working on different software languages. The topics include programming in C#, data structures and algorithms, developing web apps, and then again, Azure fundamentals and Azure development. Azure development as in writing code for Azure. And then again, there's the Azure Fundamentals certificate, and then Azure Developers, the more advanced certificate. Then cybersecurity operations, these are some of the topics here. Windows Server Core Technologies, Azure Admin and Endpoint, Azure Security, Security Operations, and then Azure Identity and Access Admin. And then the fundamentals certificate for cybersecurity is the Microsoft certification, which is Security Compliance and Identity Fundamentals. And then the more advanced is your Microsoft Security Operations Analyst. And this just lays out the requirements. So as I said earlier, the cybersecurity operations learning path is the only one that requires experience. It requires 2 years of work experience. So just having education isn't the prerequisite, and it's more focused on your work experience. So the resume showing 2 years of cyber experience in areas such as InfoSec, security ops, the SOC, Security Operations Center, or a CSOC, Security Operations, or an analyst. And then the prerequisite certificates, CompTIA Security Plus, an active Security Plus certificate, then the LinkedIn Learning Certificate of Completion, which is the Cybersecurity Fundamentals. And then additional requirements, required experience in networking and server systems. And I will pass it on to Beth.
Oh, thanks, Joe. So let's talk a little bit more about eligibility for MSSA. The first thing, if you are active duty, you have to be within 180 days of your end of service date in order to participate in a SkillBridge program. That is our policy as well. We have had occasions where a command may grant a waiver of some sort, which would extend it to beyond the 180 days. We will bless that if your command does. However, we will not let anybody who is beyond 210 days enroll in MSSA, because then it has negative repercussions with employers who don't want to wait that long to hire you. So if you are within 180 to 210 days and your command authorizes your participation, then that is something we would approve, but anything beyond that we would not approve. The other exception, and I should state, these are both exceptions. Most people will not fall in this window, but we do like to mention them. The other being an active med board review. If you fall into that category, we would just need a memo from your command that confirms your med board status. So these are outlier situations. Like I said, most will not fall under this category. And then you are eligible to participate in the program as either a transitioning active duty service member, National Guard, Reserve, or veteran. If you are Guard or Reserve, you must submit command approval, and your approval must include a separation date, your current service standing, and the details about which cohort you are applying for, the start date and the end date. If you're a veteran, we will need a copy of your DD-214, and it must include your character of service, which designates you are either being discharged under honorable or general discharge under honorable conditions. So let's talk more about the admissions process and how that works. So the first step is to attend a virtual info session, which you are doing with us here today. Additionally, we have a recorded version of this info session on the Microsoft Military Affairs YouTube channel if you want to watch it there, and or if you want to review what was stated, that is another option for you. We do not ask you to tell us when you attended the session. It's totally based on the honor system and really done for your benefit, since there's a lot of information and a lot of deadlines to meet. The second thing to be tracking is that you need to see when the 2-week application window is for the cohorts that you want to apply for. We will have a link on our site that goes live only during those 2 weeks. It opens at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the day it opens, and then it ends at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time after 14 days have passed. So really important you're tracking that, because that puts you in the queue, if you will. And if you do not apply during that 2-week window, you're going to have to wait until the next cycle. The hardest part about the application window is we ask you to create an Outlook account if you don't have one already, because all of our communication will be with you via that channel. And then also during that application window, you're going to need to determine which learning path you want to pursue. As Joe mentioned, we have three. There's Server and Cloud Administrator, Cloud Application Developer, and Cybersecurity. Each learning path has a correlating LinkedIn learning that goes with it. That's typically 20 to 30 hours of additional work. And you will need to complete that learning, and you will need to upload your certificate of completion by the materials cutoff date. So there's a link there that will take you to the learning. The other thing about this is you need to have premium LinkedIn in order to access LinkedIn Learning. And as service members and or veterans and or military spouse, you are eligible for 1 free year of premium LinkedIn. So we certainly encourage you to take advantage of that. And then that way you'll be able to access the LinkedIn Learning for free. And then we have what we call a materials cutoff date. That's typically about 10 weeks prior to the cohort start date. And in that time, we're going to need, if you're active duty, we're going to need your command authorization. If you're a veteran, we're going to need your DD 214. And then for all of you, we're going to need that certificate of completion. And then there's some additional information we'll need from those of you going through CAD and cyber. Joe already mentioned the additional stuff we need from cyber, which would be the CompTIA Security Plus that's active, and then also a resume that shows your 2+ years of industry experience. If you are active duty, we are going to need the command approval from your commander. If you need help navigating that or not sure who you get that from, there's a link there to the SkillBridge program that will help you see what you need to do for your respective branch of service. And then again, if you're a veteran, we will just need that DD 214 from you. And then for your prerequisites, again, we've got the 3 different LinkedIn Learning, depending on which one you pursue. Want to point out that we do have a change with CAD. Effective for the January 2025 cohorts, in addition to the LinkedIn Learning, we have what is called self-study training models, which is on Microsoft Learn, and it's under collections. And the collection that applies to Cloud Application Developer is MSSA Software Engineering Foundations. So basically, it is a 6 learning module that will require an additional probably 35 hours or so, give or take. And there's 5 sections, 3 are mandatory, the other 2 are highly recommended that you take them. And these are to just help introduce you to the MSSA CAD curriculum and to core software engineering concepts and skills. We have found that people do better when they have had this material up front. It helps them excel during the learning path and during MSSA. So the section 1 is just a module on get started with C#. And then section 2 is get certified. You will take a foundational C# certification under free Code Camp. It's free, but you are going to need to upload that certificate along with your LinkedIn Learning certificate. And then section 3 would be that LinkedIn Learning that pertains to CAD. So in this case, it's a software development fundamentals. So all 3 of those things you would need to take in order to apply for CAD as a prerequisite. And then section 4 is through the Khan Academy. It's college algebra, which is highly recommended because this learning path requires exposure to data structure and algorithms, and it's really beneficial to be current on your algebra. And then section 5 is a video series. It's called C# for Beginners Video. And again, highly recommended for those improving their software development skills. So these are all new changes. These will also be factored into the 30-minute interview that you have with Microsoft, which is the final step of the application process. You will be asked some questions about your LinkedIn Learning and about if you're pursuing CAD, about the Microsoft Learn collection. So these are changes that we want to just emphasize. And this is kind of an eye chart of kind of the milestones and the deadlines that we're just kind of outlaid. Again, that 2-week application window typically opens about 20 weeks prior to the cohort start date. And then you will be submitting and obtaining your required admissions documentations during that 10 to 18 weeks. Rolling interviews begin at that time. You will have your materials cutoff date, which will be 10 weeks prior to the cohort start date. And at that time, we need everything from you uploaded. If you do not upload your documentation by that deadline, unfortunately, that will be the end of the road for you in the application process. For those of you who get everything uploaded in time, you will know if you are accepted into the program roughly 4 weeks prior to the start of the cohort. Couple of pro tips. Once you have applied, be sure you're uploading that documentation as soon as you have it, because that will trigger an application manager from our team to start working with you throughout the application process. You don't have to upload everything at once, but once you do start uploading it, that indicates an application manager should be reaching out to you. And things like the LinkedIn Learning and if you're doing CAD, if you're doing the collection, you can do that way far in advance, or it doesn't expire. So I highly recommend, if you're ahead of the game, to knock that out, just so you don't have to worry about it as you get closer to that materials cutoff date. Additionally, I always like to point out on our site, we have a robust FAQ section. Really important to check that out. Can answer anything and everything you would possibly want to know about MSSA. And then, as I said earlier, you're going to be setting up an Outlook account, and that will be how we communicate with you. So ensure you are monitoring that regularly, and also make sure it's not going to your spam folder.
Okay, I'm going to talk now. Thank you, Matt. And now I'm going to talk about our offering of MSSA in Europe. So here's the key information for our offering in Europe. So it's the same program. It's MSSA. The learning path that we have there is server and cloud administration. So that's what's offered. And what we wanted to do was to provide for those service members and veterans who are in Europe to be able to take the program within their normal workday hours. It's offered in Central European time, which is most of Europe except the UK. And one thing to point out as well is it's not an expatriate program, so it's not focused on getting you employed there in Europe. It's more an opportunity of those there to take it, like I said, during their normal work day. So we're not facilitating employment or working with individuals on work visas, and all these things are quite complicated in working in a foreign country unless you're a citizen, which some service members may have that opportunity if their spouse is a citizen of the country that they're in. But again, this isn't focused on that. It's more on getting you employed back with our partners or Microsoft back within the United States. The upcoming dates for we currently have a European cohort in session. The next offering will be in April 7th, 2025 through August 1st. That application window opens up in November of this year, the 18th through December 2nd. As mentioned, our application windows open up at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So if you go on the date of the opening and you may be in Eastern time and it still hasn't reached 9 a.m. on Pacific time, then it won't be open. So just keep that in mind. And then the materials cutoff for this cohort is on January 27th. Then the active duty 180-day cutoff would be November 3rd of 2025. And again, if those exceptions that were covered earlier apply, then those would apply. And then here's just another chart. It's really the same flow of the application process for MSSA stateside. So we have the 2-week application window. You just fill out your application, get in the queue, and then at that point you have to begin completing your prerequisites and command approval, the LinkedIn Learning certificates, everything that needs to be uploaded by the materials cutoff date, which is, like I said, approximately 10 weeks before the start. And then they have the applicant interviews, and then the results will be released about a month or so before the program begins. And then these are some additional resources just to give you some information on upcoming dates that we've already set. So the next ones, as mentioned, are begin in January 13th through May 9th. That application window is coming up in September 2nd through the 16th. And the materials cutoff for the January starts are November 4th. And then, as I just mentioned, for the European offering, the cohort will begin April 7th, and it'll go through August 1st of 2025. And then The application window, November 18th, December 2nd, and materials cut off in January. And that's, again, a server and cloud administration cohort. And here are just some other resources that you can access, and we have a couple articles on career change, questions you need to ask yourself, 5 tips for amazing interviews, how to get your LinkedIn premium. You see our blog on the upper section there, graduate testimonials. We have a whole blog with videos and stories on individuals who've completed the program. There's just 3 listed there, specific ones that are great to look at. And you can see kind of how these individuals, they're all 3 are at Microsoft. And then we also, the Tech Transition Toolkit is just a great resource for those that are entering and starting in the tech industry. And then for whatever reason, maybe MSSA is not a fit for you, or you didn't get into the program. There's other Microsoft resources that you can take advantage of to try and engage with Microsoft opportunities. So we do host Hiring Our Heroes corporate fellows through the Hiring Our Heroes organization. If you're interested in their fellowship program, it's a 12-week fellowship. It is a SkillBridge program, so you take it just like any other SkillBridge program within the last 6 months of your active service. They also now have fellowships for, they call it Career Forward, for those that are already separated. But go to the hiringourheroes.org website and you can view all the different types of fellowships. We host from the corporate fellowship program. Again, it's a 12-week program where you join a team at Microsoft and they've engaged with you and seen your resume, and the goal obviously is to possibly get hired at Microsoft. Then the LEAP apprenticeship program. This is an apprenticeship program that opens up periodically. It's not ongoing, so you just have to check their site periodically to see if they're taking applications for an upcoming apprenticeship. So an area of the business at Microsoft will decide to have an apprenticeship program. They'll fully fund it, and then LEAP will announce the application process through their site and begin taking applications for it. If you're a student veteran, so if you're completing a degree at Microsoft, you can go to our student veteran careers site through our career site. There's a program called Aspire, which is it's a 2-year development program. The Microsoft hires individuals coming right off of their of the either undergraduate or graduate degrees. You have to be within a year of completing that degree to apply and get accepted into Aspire, but you can find that at the website there for the student veteran careers. And then we're also looking for those that have a TS/SCI clearance and above, and then technical background for those roles that we have in the clear space for the work that we do with the DoD as well as the federal government. There are a number of those that require clearances. And then if you have strong IT background and are interested in opportunities, just go to our website. It's on the professionals is really just looking for open roles at Microsoft currently, and those would take place. There's cleared as well as non-cleared opportunities. So stay up to date. Here's a kind of a look at our online presence. So our website, which is, if it's military.microsoft.com, or you can go through our aka.ms/MSSA, which would go directly to the MSSA portion of the site. As we mentioned earlier, we have a great frequently asked questions page of MSSA that hopefully can answer as many questions as you have. If you still have questions and you're not seeing it through our online presence, you can email our team at mssaops@microsoft.com and they'll answer your question. They usually respond very quickly within the 1 to 2 days. And then this is our social pages. We have a LinkedIn page that'll keep you up to date on any of the events or activities that are taking place within our team. We have the YouTube channel, as Beth mentioned earlier. This brief will be on our YouTube channel. We keep it up to date, and this brief is offered monthly. So every month we'll have the latest brief on our YouTube page, and also Facebook page, as well as our X page as well. So that is our brief. Let me